Welcome to Thrifty Garage. My name is Carson, and today I'm doing another episode in my How to Start a Business series. The episode today will cover all the paperwork. When it comes to starting a business, there's a lot of paperwork. And to be honest, when I was looking at this, I was certainly dreading all of the paperwork involved in this process. And it was actually substantially easier than I expected. Of all the steps that we've done in prepping our house to sell and moving across the country, all of those different things, this step has actually been the easiest and what I expected to be one of the hardest. So let's get to it. First, filing an LLC. So before you can file an LLC, you have to determine your company name. So I chose my company name and went and looked on the state registry to see if anybody else had that name. The state would not allow me to file an LLC unless I had a name different than anyone else in the state. So I searched on there, and luckily the name I had chosen was available. So I filed an LLC. That LLC only cost me $50 in the state that I'm in. This is one of those things that I can't speak extensively on because this is going to vary from state to state, as much as this process may vary state to state. Like I said, this process was very easy for me, and it may be much more difficult in the state that you're in. In the state that I'm in, it probably took me about 15 minutes online, filed the form, and paid 50 bucks, and basically had my certificate emailed to me, and I was ready to go with the business. Another thing I did when we first arrived was set up my website domains. That was an easy process. I required some capital investment, a little bit of money. I believe it's $12 a year per domain. I ended up acquiring a few extra domains, just making sure all my bases were covered. And one thing that I do regret is not registering those domains sooner. You know, in the big scheme of things, that cost was relatively low, and one of the website domains I really wanted, I could not obtain because someone obtained it in the last month or two as I've been searching and preparing to start my business. So if that's something you're planning on doing, is starting a business, and you're wanting a website associated with that, I would immediately register your domains. I used Google Domains. I believe you go to domains.google.com and that'll pull up. You can search all the sorts of different domains and you can register it there. Like I said, it's I believe $12 a year per domain, depending on what the ending is. And some of those different domains other than .net and .com actually cost more, somewhere up to $30 a month. So that's something to look into as well. So I registered my domain. Once my domain was set up, I actually set up an email associated with the main account that I wanted, and then I set up all the other domains to forward to my new website. So the website I chose, I had it as my main one. I set up my email at Carson and then the website name .net, and then have all those other emails for there. My emails associated with that as well, so everything's linked together. That was a very easy process, all through Google. Everything's Google related, so that's a great way to do it, a great inexpensive cost, and it all looks professional. As I've gone further down that road, Google will actually set up a website for you. So if you go to Google, you can tell them your business name, your business address, all that information, pretty easy to set up, and all they do is send you a postcard in the mail with a PIN number just to ensure that you are the actual owner of that address, and they will validate all that information. And once you input your business hours and your website and your email and your cell phone and whatnot, they will actually set up a very rudimentary website for you, which is what I currently have set up. So that rudimentary website will get me going until I have time to actually design and build out a website and actually apply that to my website domain. Now, with a lot of this paperwork, some things need to be done in the correct order. For me, one of the biggest things I had to do was set up the LLC as far as the legal side of things. The next step was to obtain an EIN, Employer Identification Number, which is your tax ID number. That is free to obtain. My friend made it a little bit humorous, and he said, of course they're willing to give that to you free. That enables you to pay taxes. So I got that after I got my LLC, and to obtain the EIN, I had to provide them the information for my LLC. So that was the next step there. In my state, the state does not require a contractor's license, but the state requires that you obtain that through the city. So one big next step for me, which I have not done yet, is obtain my business license through the city. And in order to obtain that, first I need to obtain insurance for my company. They want like a $10,000 bond, and I believe $300,000 insurance coverage. I will likely go for a $500,000 or $1 million insurance coverage just because it's a little bit extra and quite a bit more coverage for me, as well as because I'm currently an owner-operator. I don't need workman's comp, but I could also look into the option of covering myself for workman's comp as well. I have not yet seen those numbers yet, but those are things I'm working on right now as far as that process. So I'll keep you updated on the paperwork for that. So once I had my business set up and I had my domain registered, I had an email, and I had previously set up my cell phone, now I can create business cards. So once I knew my address, I ordered those business cards from Vistaprint. My friend just recently set up his business and he ended up giving me a discount code to set up that. So I believe it was $50 or $60 to get those initial 500 business cards sent to me. I have not paid to have my logo made yet, so I'm still working on some of those details, but I did get some quick business cards that I can pass out as I'm starting my business up. I can pass those out and start building those relationships. So business card is another paperwork item that I had to set up. Mostly online, pretty quick and easy. Really depends on how in depth you want to go. I did pay a little bit extra for my Vistaprint business cards. Some really nice features that make those cards feel nice. The first few cards I've handed out, I've got some really good input from people of how nice the cards are. Some of them business owners themselves, and they've indicated that they would like to get something similar, a little bit more professional. So that was a positive experience that I had. You know, really inexpensive. You know, what does a business card cost per card? You might as well spend a little bit extra money and make sure it looks nice. Same with the logo. So working on the logo, and hopefully we have that logo soon. So lots of paperwork to go still. Those are the things I've covered so far. I didn't want to make an individual video for each because I didn't feel like I had enough content for that. I wanted to kind of give my initial impressions on each subject and kind of get everyone rolling on the overall. Like I said, a lot of that's going to depend on your state. One thing I should mention in closing is that my state and city has a lot of resources available to us as entrepreneurs to set up these things. So a lot of these things are outlined by the state and the city on how to obtain an LLC and how to obtain an employer identification number and business license and everything else. Everything's been very well laid out for me. I'm not sure if that's just the state I'm in. I know previously in Utah, I looked at this as well, and there was quite a bit of information there as well. I do know that in Utah, to start a business, it would have been substantially more. The state, like I said, requires a business license there, and it requires CEU credits. To obtain that, I believe you usually have to attend a 10 or 20 hour course, as well as have at least an hour in the industry you're doing, at least as far as landscaping is concerned. So those courses end up costing $500 to $1,000 pretty quickly, whereas out here, I believe my city fee is going to be $150 for that license. So quite a bit less and less procedural items, but that also does mean potentially more competition. So pros and cons to both, and depending on where you're at. Hopefully you learned something new in this video. If you would, please hit the subscribe button. I'd love to see more followers following this video series. And please like and comment the video as well. Thanks for watching Thrifty Garage.